Welcome to the editorial board. Please identify yourself and tell us the position you're running for, and then give us a little bit of your background.
Okay, thanks for having me here, guys. I appreciate it. My name is Chauncey Solinger. I'm running for District 76 State Representative. For all those who do not know, the new district is Bonita Beach, Bonita Springs, Estero, San Carlos, Island Park Road, Fort Myers Beach, Island Park Road, Island Park, Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Captiva Island, Boca Grande, Pine Island and Matlacha, and Gladiola South and Iona area. A little bit about myself is I'm a Lee County native, born and raised. I believe I'm the only candidate in the race that's born and raised in Lee County. I grew up off of Tice. It was an economically distressed area when I was growing up. I have 5 brothers and sisters. Growing up poor, you had to really understand the value of a dollar. I grew up standing in food stamp lines, so I know the value of working. I was lucky enough to have my grandpa in my life, who was a commissioner at the fire department, Tice Fire Department. He helped start the fire department and paid the fee to make it a taxable base for the community. Once I was in high school, I was lucky enough to, through home issues, I was lucky enough to be adopted by a local minister and his wife, Grace Presbyterian Church, Frank and Ann Eichinger, and they helped me graduate high school. When I got into college, I eventually transferred to University of Central Florida, where I majored in business and psychology. During my stint at University of Central Florida, I worked full-time, ever since I was 16 actually, but full-time through college. I worked at a Mazda dealership. I sold Cutco knives. I bought and sold stocks on my own, and I started a club called Young Investors Club, in which we got local investors and wealth managers to come talk to our group, about 100 people. And I learned a lot speaking in front of people with that. I got a job as far as in college. I got an internship through one of the wealth managers, and I convinced him I'll work for free for 3 months, and then I ended up working my way up to office manager of that company. As soon as I graduated, Frank and Ann Eichinger, my adopted parents, gave me $12,000 to buy a car. I told them then I was going to start a business. Immediately after I graduated, I started a business here in Lee County. I believe I was the youngest at the time. In Florida, a franchise vehicle dealer, I started buying and selling scooters for the general public. I saw a need in gas prices, especially in 2008. It was an economically unviable time for a lot of businesses, and we were able to grow our business to where we had about 8 employees, and we started with a small budget. We've never had a loan, and we grew it to where we had a lot of employees, and I've started 2 other businesses since then, one in which was a motor vehicle licensing service, motorcycle licensing, and I believe the state legislature are the ones that made that law to where you had to take a class before you could get a license, and it's really helped statistically lower the amount of accidents.
So it's like a driving school for motorcycle
Yes, sir. And I
riders?
have two areas in Lee County I do it. I have about 30% of the market. And since then, I've started a software company in which I offer a temporary tag service. It's called ETR with the state, in which I issue temp tags to dealers. And so if you ever see those paper tags on the road, it's a good chance, maybe a chance, it's part of my company. I'm a numbers guy. Being in business, I've never had a penny given to me except the $12,000 my parents gave me. I'm very lucky with that, and I've turned it into a very successful 3 businesses. I employ a number of people in the area, and I'm happy to say that through my opportunities with being able to work in a free market environment like Florida and work with the state, I'm able to provide jobs for the community, and I've been working full-time 7 days a week, doing my best.
If elected, how are you going to find time to go to Tallahassee and still run your business?
Well, the good thing about my businesses is that I've done a great job of delegating and getting into a system, just like the E-Myth. You ever read that book, The E-Myth, of how you can't take the world on by yourself. You have to have help. And I've done a good job of having those systems in place in which I can go away for 60, 90 days, however long session takes. And I'm very excited about being able to get back to my community and have the opportunity to be the state representative of District 76.
Did we get your age?
My age, I'm almost 28.
Almost 20.
That's the best thing about me.
Okay.
I have the energy and motivation, and I'm ready to go give back.
The name of your dealership is,
Ride Green Incorporated.
I'm sorry?
Ride Green.
Ride Green.
Yes, and my motorcycle licensing is Motorcycle Licensing Incorporated, and my software company is TempTagUSA.com. Just a little plug for my
That's good. What brand of scooters do you sell?
Bashan. Since then, we've gotten into vehicles and heavy machinery and other things. Lately, I've been focusing more on my software company and expanding that, and just buying and selling a few higher-end items on eBay and
Okay.
stuff like that.
But the Ride Green is a physical place, like there's a showroom and stuff?
Oh yeah, we actually I've moved it and to more of an online dealership at this point.
So there isn't a place I could go to?
Not anymore, no. Actually,
Okay.
it's one of the reasons I'm running is due to interference with bureaucracy. You have issues with overregulation and issues with everyone's kind of looking for their own job. Everyone we have code enforcement issues. We have things like that we have to get some common sense in the government and saying, hey, we got to work with businesses, not shut them down. And there's a lot of small businesses out there that'll tell you that they want government to work with them, not against them. And sometimes it's not the case.
So government bureaucracy forced you or made it inconvenient for you to have a physical
Well,
location?
it's when it comes down to it, yes and no. One of the things is I just had twins, and I'd like to more work with the fact that I have time to do things with my software company and my motorcycle licensing more efficiently than I do running a full size car lot. And so I've just moved to more of internet sales with that.
But you still employ a number of people?
Yes, I do. I have a couple of motorcycle trainers with myself, and I have a couple salespeople helping me with my temp tag site.
Okay, but if I want to buy a scooter, I deal directly with you.
At this point, I started with scooters. I've moved into cars since then.
Oh,
Yeah.
We hear the overregulation concern and a number of candidates for various posts. A lot of them are more local, like a county commission candidate, and when you talk about getting the proper license and fees to do business in Lee County or Collier County, it's more of a local. Where does a state representative come in and affecting policy that pertains to making it easier to do business in Lee County?
That's a good question. One of the things I can do, because I actually don't have control over county rules and regulations, is being an adversary for my constituents and be available for them if they have an issue. I'm the only candidate in this race that has this viable solution with that. We have too much technology today where anyone that wants to have access to information should have access to it, whether it's an email or a website that keeps people up to date with rules and regulations. And if someone has an issue in the county, they need to have someone to go to. And if they're afraid to go to the commission because they have a code issue, they need to have someone to go to, and I want to be that person.
Temporary tag business, I don't understand. If I buy a car, I can get a temporary tag on my own, can I not?
At the dealership or at the DMV, yes.
Why do I need a business to do that?
Well, the good thing about the state, and I've actually worked with state agencies up in Tallahassee. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. I've called them enough times where I've become one of the providers. Is one of the good things the state actually does is it lets the free market come in and manage a lot of these programs, and you have to be a provider to be able to use one of these sites, and I happen to be one. And I'm happy to do it a little differently than the rest. A lot of them are out of state, and all you have is a phone call, or you have to talk to someone on the phone. I actually have salespeople that are responsible for dealers, and they go out and they help them. And so they have not only I've created a job, but I've created an environment in which they have the best customer service possible.
So a car dealer would get temporary tags through you and pass them along to their customers as opposed to hassle with getting them themselves?
Yes.
Is that's
Yes.
the convenience you offer?
When you say provider, you have to be sanctioned by the state? Do you have to qualify?
Well, anyone
somewhere?
can
No.
qualify. Anyone
Okay.
anyone in the state can qualify. The key is that you have to, you know, want to do it, and you have to have a service that's viable
The
for
free
the community.
market.
Yeah,
If
free
you
market.
do the better
Yeah,
job.
if
then
I do the better
clearly
job,
you do.
just like in anything, then if you provide a better service, a better product, they'll use you, and they're not required to use anybody. But
Right.
the fact is that I want to offer the best possible service or anything that I need to do for business to make myself a better business person. And that's the same thing I can bring to the state as far as, hey, I can bring you guys the same quality of service that I provided to my customers through giving you guys the free market idea of the small business that we don't really have representation at the state right now. And being a small business, I understand a shoestring budget. I understand how to create something out of nothing with a dime and turn it into $1. And the largest thing that the state has an issue with that I would like to bring to the table is that you can give someone an agency $1 million, or you can give them $10,000, and they might be able to do the same thing. Believe it or not, it's just how they use it. It's how the leadership works. And we need to have a bottom-up approach, just like they teach in every university in America and probably the world at this point about how businesses work. That if you know your agencies and you know the people that are dealing the customers closely, they're the ground troops. Like my constituents here are the ground troops. They know the issues better than anybody. So I need to listen to them. And realistically, not anybody really talks to the state representative after a handful of people talk to the state representative, and we need to make that more streamlined and get that to where you really know the issues in the community. And I think I have my hand on the pulse of Lee County better than any of the other candidates as far as the issues.
Have you ever talked to your state rep?
Nope. I've called her. It's unfortunately, she's campaigning for I believe state senate right now, and I'm not going to press that issue. But to be honest with you, before I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah.
Did you finish your degree at UCF?
Yes, I did.
In what was your major?
It was business marketing.
I'm sorry, you told me
yes.
that already. I'm sorry, I'm a bad listener. I flunked listening. Have you ever thought of maybe starting at the local level, maybe running for the Lee County Commission, or as a new parent, even the school board, and building up to a race like this? Maybe somebody might ask you that question. What do you tell them?
I'm ready for the big league.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to Estero High School in my district,
Oh.
believe it or not.
So you went to the Statewide and UCF, so you've been through the public schools.
Yeah, and
What's the state of the school system as far as you're concerned?
well, me growing up and actually being adopted when I was 16, I couldn't say I just had the normal life of anyone that just went to high school. I had to go through a lot of other things as far as being able to survive, and I believe that's one of the reasons I know there's a lot of kids like that in this area that need some representation as well, and I can give that to them. But as far as me having a good experience at high school, I did. I had great guidance counselors. I had great teachers. I had a great principal. It was Bodie at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Maybe he's listening to vote for me. I don't know.
You can vote.
But I graduated from there. I was given a scholarship by the Optimist Club. Obviously, thought I was worth their time and money, and I've taken every opportunity very seriously and turned it into something much better than was before. And I really think I'm ready for a position like this. I've been the youngest in every industry I've been in so far and excelled in it. And I believe that my voters will see how involved I really am and how motivated and how my energy and my knowledge of the real issues in this state, I can propose a change, and I have the voice, and the squeaky wheel get the grease in this case, and I'll be the one that will get their voice heard more than anybody.
Is the state education system on the right track in terms of, say, standardized testing and things like this? You hear where maybe there's too much pressure put on kids to pass these tests, maybe not enough. You've been through them not
Yeah,
too long ago. How did you feel about that?
I've talked to a handful of teachers. I talked to some principals, and the real issue is that they're spending all their time preparing for these tests and not teaching these kids anything for the real world. The real world's not a multiple choice test, and we got teachers in the classroom for 25 years being told by a bureaucracy how to teach and what to teach. And I'm sure you wouldn't want that same bureaucracy telling your doctor how to do it and how to operate on you. It doesn't make any sense. And we need to bring some common sense back into the education. And the best way to do that is, I believe they're already proposing to bring the 67 counties into their own operation. and being able to control their own funds. And I believe if you do that, you'll have 67 counties with 67 different ideas, and you'll have 67 different ways to do things, and you'll find the best one at each. You know, we might be the best at math, and Miami might be the best at English, and then we'll be able to say, hey, what are they doing differently, and how can we get to that level?
How important then in education from the state's viewpoint is measurement, measuring progress, measuring success?
Well, they have to measure it somehow, but we should.
You have 67 different measuring.
Well, yeah, you're still, you know, we need something to test people with, but there's got to be a viable solution to, like, where all they're doing is testing for a standardized test, and none of the teachers like it, and if the teachers don't like it, they're not going to be as motivated. The biggest issue they're having is this, the merit pay.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them don't like that, and if you see statistically, it's the most affluent cities in Broward County getting, you know, 75% of these funds, and then the 3% in the lowest economically depressed areas of education are getting that fund. So it's not really helping the teachers that need it. And realistically, merit pay does not work because you can't choose your students, and the ones that need it the most are left out here.
How do you then allocate money for teacher salaries as far as pay raises go if you don't do it on a merit basis?
I mean, if we can go to a 67 county system in which our counties, we have smart people that are being told what to do. Let them decide how to handle it. You know, one thing I do like about how Lee County has their system is the principals are in charge of their schools,
Mm-hmm.
and the principals, they want to keep their job, and they'll do the best way possible to make sure their teachers do the best job. And we need to empower the teachers. They went to school. They're smart people. They don't need to be told exactly what to do. They need to have, you know, be able to teach.
Some have argued that one of the issues with the education system is that the teachers aren't paid on merit. They're paid on years of service, or have been in the past, which is supported by the teachers union. And to really improve or to weed out the teachers who aren't doing a good job is you pay by merit, which is more of the free market system. It seems to me that you're arguing the other way.
Well, how can you have free market? You can't choose your students. You know, we don't know what the home life is. I can tell you personally from being in a bad home life when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, like, how is that fair to my teacher that, hey, I might not be listening. A kid might have something else in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, they're not going to do as good testing. So this whole idea of a merit pay and free market is if you can choose your students, you can choose your.
How about teachers' pay then? What would be your solution to?
My solution to politics, period, is just like in business.
Mhm.
What is the taxpayer's return on their investment? And if you can justify that, like, spending money on kids is always a good investment, because if you do it now, you're going to have less crime later. Now, there's issues in the state where that doesn't make sense. Why are we spending money on this? We're not our tax dollars are not getting a return on their investment. So what do we need to do to rope in those funds and use them to where we get a return on our investment?
As you go about your district and you meet people and they talk to you, you tell them, hey, I'm running for Florida House, and they say, oh, do they make you feel welcome? Are they surprised? What do they tell you? How do they react to you, and what have you learned from them?
Every chance I get, I try to say I'm running for state representative, and can I put a sign in your yard, or any plug, because I do have the smallest budget out of the other candidates, and I think that's the best part, is because I think I'm going to get my name out there better than either of the other ones with the smallest budget. And that's the same thing I'm going to do at the state level. I'm going to take my ability to take the smallest budget and turn it into something great. And so as far as the residents,
Yeah.
a lot of them have concerns, and everyone I've talked to is ready to vote for me.
Do people want to hear about jobs? Are they, are they upset about? Are they upset about stuff? Are they feeling better about the economy? What are they telling you?
Well, as far as jobs and economy goes, it's always an issue, more so in this election than probably ever. And that's one of the reasons why I probably have the smallest budget, because I don't want to go ask small business people or people in the area for money, because they need it. They need to feed their family. Go ask a construction guy, hey, I know your business is below average for the last 4 years. Will you give me some money for my campaign? It doesn't make any sense. So I'm not even asked. I just said, hey, what do you guys want from me as a state representative?
expansion of casino gambling promises to be a big issue on the state level in the next few years. What are your thoughts on casino gambling and the state's role in permitting it?
Well, actually, listening to Frank Mann's interview, I did hear about how he did an analogy with Vegas' economy and our economy.
Yes,
we
he
have
did.
we have the worst. We have the second worst besides Vegas is in foreclosures, and he said it's because of casinos. And I got to say that the only reason they have an economy over there is because of casinos. Now, is it right for us? I don't know. That's going to be determined at the local level. And I'll ask my constituents, the voters here, what they want, and that's how I'm going to answer that question, because I can't answer for everybody. I'm just going to get a majority.
If the voters here, like the one that will be on the November ballot for Lee County to allow slot machines at the dog track, if that passes, it still goes nowhere until the state legislature passes something on a bill on the state level.
Yeah, well, I'd have to research it a little bit more before I make an educated decision on that, because I don't know what my voters want. It's not up to me.
Have you had a chance to think about the state's insurance crisis?
Insurance
Do
crisis.
you have
know,
any thoughts?
It was in the newspaper today, and I have Citizens Insurance myself, and the fact is that they have a $500 billion crisis, especially if we have a catastrophe, and I don't know enough about that right now to really respond to that. I just know it's an issue, and that I'm paying a lot of money for insurance, and what are we going to do about it is the question. There's got to be a solution. I don't know the answer right now.
Okay.
You comfortable with offshore oil rigs off Florida's coast, off the west coast,
You know,
off Sanibel,
yeah,
off your district, basically?
Absolutely. Being the district where I basically have all the coastal towns, all the way from Sanibel to Boca Grande, I'm sure that's a huge issue. And from talking to oil guys, I have a handful of friends that have moved to go to Texas. And reality is that if we have our head in the sand as a community that this BP oil spill isn't already affecting us, then we got to wake up to this. We really do. And a lot of them are 500, 1,000 miles offshore. Just having the representation here to go to these oil drills and having something 500, 1,000 miles offshore is a good idea. Now, something 27 miles offshore might not be good. And we, let's have some, we need to have a little common sense here and work with the voters here and find out, hey, we can bring thousands of jobs here right away, but we got to do this and protect our shorelines at the same time. Let's work together on this issue.
The state, the line as it stands right now is 100, 125 miles off.
That's a lot, and you can't see
Are you
this.
comfortable with that? Should it be further yet? Or?
I don't know much about it. I just know that the BP oil spill has really scared a lot of people, and there's a lot more regulation and safety in the way of keeping that from happening again. And the free market will work its way out on this solution. And I believe that we can bring a lot of jobs here to Florida. And reality is you got companies that possibly are from other countries like China out there drilling already anyways. Are we going to let them have all our oil, or are we going to bring some common sense into this?
Have you met the governor yet?
I've not, just seen him on TV.
What do you think of the job he's doing?
I think he's got a tough job. I really do. I like him. I think the fact that he started with a donut shop and worked his way up to the largest healthcare agency in the world, or at least in America, I'm very impressed by that, and I believe that I would vote for him again.
The Florida Stand Your Ground law is getting a lot of attention these days.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of attention.
And the legislature might be asked to make any changes. And the question seems to be, is it worded in such a way that it actually might encourage somebody to shoot somebody rather than try to solve their issues another way?
Well, due to the Trayvon Martin case, it's definitely come up, and I believe that the whole stand your ground law in that particular instance was misrepresented
By the media.
By everybody, and they really they made someone like, it was absolutely horrible what happened, and I wish it didn't happen, but stand your ground law was not the case in that instance, especially since you hear the 911 call. He's like, don't follow him. So unfortunately, it's a bad situation that brought out a law that has been good and bad to some people, and that's another thing that we need to talk to our residents about and find out how they want to vote on that.
When did you decide to run?
Well, I've been thinking about it for years. I officially made it aware to my family I was going to run in January. And ever since then, I was just waiting for the redistricting to finally occur.
Right.
Problem is you call the state, someone knows, and they can tell you to talk to someone else, and they don't know, and so they're telling you end up talking to 10 people, and they get 10 different answers.
Bureaucracy.
So, I mean,
Were you involved in student government, say at UCF or at Stero for that matter?
nope.
Clean slate.
That's the best thing about me. I have no political ties whatsoever. I'm here for the people only.
Where do you live now in Lee County?
I live in San Carlos Park.
Oh, okay.
How's the economy up there these days?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. It's bad, but we can make it better. One of the issues I've heard from law enforcement is, and one of the things I'd actually probably bring up in legislation is cyber crimes. We completely have our head in the sand about how cyber crimes work. Period, and these pain pill mills, they're out of control. And these are the kind of things that we can just keep our head in the sand about and let the state or the local government handle, but we need to handle it somewhere. Especially cyber crimes. I had an uncle that actually happened to. He actually lives in Chicago, and what happened was someone used his information to buy a Sprint phone in downtown Chicago. So he went to downtown Chicago, talked to the police. They go, well, you're going to have to go to your own district to handle this. He goes to his own district, and they go, well, you got to go downtown and talk. No one cares. Like, it's not that the police don't care. They care. They don't know how to handle something. It's a new form of crime, and we need to handle this. Especially in Florida, where people are doing tax fraud at a huge level, and these pain pill mills, they're just taking them right up out of the state, and it's a whole black market economy around these two issues that we have to deal with. And in my local area, San Carlos Park, probably the pain pill mills are an issue. I mean, there's a lot of people that literally are using these things in the wrong way, and we have to stop it.
Immigration is generally considered a problem or a role for the federal government, but some states have taken it on themselves to try to address immigration in the absence of action by the federal government. How do you feel about laws like the one passed by Arizona, for example? Does Florida need something like that?
Well, Arizona has a different issue. They have actual border right there, and I don't think you can just take someone's law and just make it uniform for every state. It's not going to work. Reality is we all came over here at one point in time, unless you're Native American, we're all immigrants. And the problem with illegal immigration is that it's so hard to do legal immigration. And not only is it hard to do legal immigration, but people that do come over here with visas don't want to leave because it's so hard to get back in. So that's what we need to make legal immigration much more manageable and effective, and then you'll see that a lot of these issues will go away.
I mean, make legal immigration more available.
Oh yeah, we're already allowing legal immigration, which we should. We're America. We need to make it to where it's simpler. I mean, these people are coming over here. They want to come over here and work. They want to have a better life, and we shouldn't stop them. But how things are going now, it's hurting everything with how healthcare and we're losing a lot of tax dollars by not being able to tax people don't have the status for legal immigration. So let's make it easier for these people to come over here legally and get rid of. If you make the government work together with small businesses and maybe do something where that small businesses are regulated by the government, and just like the programs I work with the state, it's much more efficient and it works better, and we got a better result from it.
Chauncey, we've got just under 2 minutes, and wanted to give you time to expound on anything that we haven't asked you about, any issues or thoughts that are important to you as a candidate that you'd like to tell us about.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me, guys. And my name's Chauncey Solinger. I'm running for State Representative District 76. Go to votesolinger.com. I'd appreciate anyone that can afford to donate to my campaign. I am a grassroots guy. I have 3 decades of experience here in Lee County. I know from experience I know how to be a student here. I know how to be I know what it's like to stand in a food stamp line from being a kid. I know what it's like to get a paycheck and the pride in that, and I know what it's like to operate a business here. And I know when it's easier to get an unemployment than start a business, there's a big issue at the state that we have to handle, and I'm ready to handle it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. We
Well
appreciate
done.
your time.
That's the last word. Thank you. So